Hey y'all, it's Bailey from Reclaim Grace, and I am so happy you clicked on this video. Today we have three pretty awesome trash to treasure projects. Y'all let me know what y'all think about those. We're going to get started here in just a second, but we are one day away from the IOD 2026 spring release. That is happening tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is the full spring release collection drop. That will be over on my website. That information is linked down in the description box. I hope and pray to have another video for y'all on Thursday, right at that 1 p.m. drop. So y'all keep an eye out for that. If everything goes as planned, I'll be able to have a second video this week. Either way, let's get started on today's projects, and y'all let me know which one is your favorite.
Okay, for our first project today, we are working on a bucket planter situation. This I got from a yard sale. I don't know if y'all recall the Firkin bucket I glued back a couple weeks ago in a video. This came from that same yard sale, and I paid about $3 for this, and that Firkin was given to me for free. But we kind of got similar issues. You can see the piece is falling apart, and we're going to have to do some adjusting here. I gave the piece a good clean, dusted out the inside, and now I'm just going to use a hammer and just tap each of these panels back into place. Some needed to be tapped down, others needed to be tapped up. And then there is a groove for the bottom of the bucket to fit into one of these panels. So I'm just adjusting those to make sure the bottom is lined up with that insert. I'm going to start tapping the band going around the exterior of the bucket back into place, and I'm just going to follow the obvious lines of where it used to be. I'm using a piece of wood and a hammer to gently knock it back up, working section by section until I get it in the right position. Now, let me address something before we get too far in this video. I hated, honestly, to even do this voiceover with my voice sounding the way it's sounding right now. But I didn't want to leave y'all hanging this week without a video, so we're going to get it done. I am extremely sorry you got to listen to this for this whole video. I don't feel bad. It's just I'm losing my voice. It's been like this for 3 days. Either way, back to the project. We are going to secure those panels and that metal rim thing back into place using some tiny pin nails. Now, the nails were a tad bit too long and they were coming all the way through, so I snipped those down a little bit with a pair of wire cutters, and they still hammered in perfectly. I did pre-drill a hole into the metal piece just to make getting that nail in there a lot easier. Now moving on to paint. We are going to be adding some milk paint to this beauty and really aging it up. Have pretty much fallen in love with this color. This is Kent, the Bestoke brand by Sweet Pickins Milk Paint. It's a very moody, dusty blue, and it is a favorite. I mixed up 3 scoops of powder with 2 scoops of water, so my mixture would be a little bit thicker. And now I'm going to come in and beeswax this bucket, just the bucket section, and just kind of do it randomly. I definitely want some distressing to come back through on that metal piece, around the gaps and edges of those panels, around some of the bottom and some of the top areas. Now let's paint. I'm going to come in with a pretty light hand so I try not to disturb much of that wax, and I'm going to apply about 1.5 coats of this Kent color. I'm going to very carefully cut in around the handle because I don't want to paint that part. I want to leave that as a wooden detail in our design. And yeah, we're just going to get this bucket area painted inside and out. Y'all let me know down in the comments. Did y'all get any snow? I swear I have never experienced this much snow in my lifetime. I live in eastern North Carolina, so snow isn't that common. We got about 14 inches. It was knee deep. It was crazy, and my little town shuts down when there's snow. So I've been stuck in the house for about 3 days now. It's not fun. Once our paint was dry, I'm going to come in with a 180 grit sandpaper and distress the piece. We got some gorgeous chipping, a little bit of crackling, and we just need to get all that wax off, and that's going to leave that pretty wood peeking back through. Next, let's work on the legs. Y'all, the finish on these legs it was just falling right off. So it was very satisfying taking a piece of 120 grit sandpaper and sanding these legs down. The finish was it was just very satisfying job. So once I got those cleaned up some, we are going to just go back in and deepen that color and seal them right back up with some Fusion's Agent Wax. I just love the color of this wax. It works perfectly for a stain, really, as long as it's fresh, raw wood. It is a beautiful, beautiful stain. And it's sealing it up as well. Once I get done with the legs, I'm going to start adding the Agent Wax to the bucket area. I decided to work in sections because I wasn't sure how dark it was going to be if I went ahead and did the whole piece. So once I get about a third of it done, I'm going to come in with a blue shop towel and wipe off any excess. I wanted to add just a touch more age by adding some Dixie Belle dirt. Just using a small little fluffy artist brush here to tap it into that still wet wax around just random areas, but focusing on where I think it would naturally age. I'm going to take a larger brush and pat that in and brush any excess off. Other than that, this was done. I love, love how it came out. Super cute. I believe I priced it for $43. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Here is our inspiration for our next project. My sweet, sweet friend Julie gifted me a Jenny Lynn bed. This is a twin size Jenny Lynn bed, and she had intended creating a bench with it herself, but she didn't have the time to do it, so she gave them to me in the hopes I would create a bench with them. So let's get this done. We're going to start by knocking off this bottom board to the headrest portion. This piece just needs to go. It's not a part of our design. So I started by cutting it in half, and then I'm just going to take a hammer and go to town. You would think it would be a lot easier to get it out, but I struggled a little bit. Just watch this. This Jenny Lynn bed had sat outside in my yard for several months since Julie gave it to me, so I had a few missing pieces, which isn't a problem. I'm just going to repair them now, but hindsight, I wish I would have brought this piece in my shop. So I am making a template here, just using a piece of white paper. I'm taping it to the good side, the side I'm trying to replicate. I'm going to use a lead pencil and just trace out that shape, and then I'm going to untape it from this side. This is the shape that I'm needing to make on the other side. You see, it's missing a piece right here. So our next step is to retape this piece of paper. Oh, hold on, no, never mind. I'm going to cut it out first. I'm going to cut it out, cut our template out, and then I'm going to retape our template to the bad side that we're trying to fix, flip it over again, and then trace the piece of wood onto the paper, and then that is going to show me what piece I need to cut down to fit in order to fix this piece. I really hope that made sense. I grabbed a piece of wood from my stash that was the same thickness as the piece I'm trying to fix. Then I'm going to take my new template, and with a Sharpie marker, I'm going to trace over the piece of paper, and this is the piece of wood I need to cut out. I'm just going to use a jigsaw to cut that out. I didn't record that because it was shaking my camera everywhere. So this piece is, as all that work is for this small little piece right here. But it is what it is. We're going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick, spread that out evenly, and then I'm going to stick that up there. I'm going to use a clamp to hold it in place until I can drive a couple nails in there. Now our headboard is fixed. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This was the what is it called? Footboard? I don't think it's called footboard. Either way, it's the smaller of the two pieces that we were fixing the whole time. It's ready to go. The glue's set up. Now this piece is about to become the sides of our bench. So I measured and found center, made my marks, and now I'm going to use my circular saw to cut through these, and now I'm going to have two arm rails for our bench piece. The spindles became very wiggly and wobbly, so I popped those out, and I'm just going to reinforce those with a little bit of glue so I don't have to worry about a later problem. To attach our side pieces to the back headboard piece, I'm going to use pocket hole screws on that section on both of my arm rails. This is going to give us a very secure hold, and we'll come in with a different process in a later step. But let's get this glued down to our first I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Let's get this first arm glued down to our headrest. I figured out my measurements. I'm lining it up with my mark, and I'm sinking in some pocket hole screws to secure that arm on to the headboard, and I want to do the same thing for the other side. This is a little bit of a better video shot for you to see. Here we are looking at the back of the headboard. This is the back of the bench where I'm going to sink in a 3-inch screw into the back spindle into the armrest. And here is what we're looking like so far. Now we're going to work on the bench seat. Here I have a new piece of 1x6. I have already screwed some pocket holes on both ends. I've made my marks and measurements, and I'm going to screw this down with some pocket hole screws as well on both ends. Right here, we are looking at our front of our bench seat. I decided I wanted to have a decorative design on this, so I just grabbed some random items to make a arch. I measured it to make sure it was even on both sides, and I'm going to use my jigsaw to carefully cut this out. You could definitely leave this straight, but I really like the design on this piece. Cute shot of Roscoe, and I got that attached the same way with the pocket hole screws. Make sure I used a level to make sure the bench seat supports were completely level, and here's a closer look at how they were put together with the pocket hole screws. I figured a little bit more support wouldn't hurt, so I added these two inner pieces for more of a seat support with pocket hole screws and glue as well. And now we're going to start putting down our bench seat. This is some new lumber 1x6s that I have cut to fit to line up all the way down to the bench seats. I did have to evenly make it so the first piece and the last piece were cut smaller so it would look right. And now I'm coming in with some Titebond quick and thick to glue these pieces down. I'm going to hold them into place with a few brad nails. And now it's time to test it out. I was the first one to sit down on it, and I was like, yes, this is going to be very sturdy. I was impressed. I taught Roscoe to testing it out with me, but he wouldn't turn around. He was a little skittish of it. But we hung out for a few minutes, and he got some love and some cuddles, and then we got back to work. I sanded all of the felling finish off this piece off camera. You've seen me sand so many things, but now I'm dusting it off, getting all that dust and grime off the piece before we come in with several layers of the spray shellac. This is some really dry, raw wood right here, so I went in with 3 very good layers of this shellac spray. I wanted it to match my inspiration picture of the black paint, and I pictured it distressed. So there's no better paint to choose than Sweet Pickins Milk Paint in the color Lantern. I did 6 scoops of powder with 5 scoops of water to create a thicker mixture. I'm going to mix that together well and let it sit up and thicken for about 10 minutes. As that milk paint is thickening up, I'm going to take my Sweet Pickins beeswax bar and just hit some areas here and there. I really wanted to focus on the spindles here because those are going to look so good when they're distressed later on. I had full intentions of staining the bench seat with maybe special walnut or dark walnut, but I completely forgot that plan when I spray shellacked it. And then I was thinking maybe I could still stain it, but I don't know what was going on in my head. I guess I was just trying to get this project done, and I went right over it with the black paint. So either way, I still love how it turned out, but in my design, in my head, I was going to have a stained bench seat. Maybe I might sand it back down later on if it doesn't sell, but I don't think I'm going to have that problem. I really only needed to do one coat to get really good coverage. That is the beautiful thing about this lantern color. Before I came in, it's completely dry now, and now I'm going to come in with a sanding sponge and distress this piece very heavily. I'm going to make sure I hit those spots where I put that wax. I'm going to go over all the details of the spindles and just make that wood pop back through. And I absolutely love this look with black and wood. It's just so gorgeous. And now it's time to seal her up. No guess here, I'm using my Fusion's Aging Wax. I went over this whole piece, really good time, really well, and then I let it sit, and then I buffed off any excess. I let the piece sit for 24 hours, and then I came in with a second coat of wax, just to make sure this piece is really sealed up, and that is it for this project. I absolutely love how it came out. Julie, thank you so much for giving me this. I love it. I priced it for $250. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. Our last set of projects is this from this piece of lumber that was given to me. I would have recorded me sketching out this bunny print. I hope y'all can see it, but I had to look at my phone and sketch at the same time, and I record from my phone. So either way, we are creating bunny leaners, like something for a front porch or something like that. Once I had my sketch figured out and I liked it, I'm going to come in with my jigsaw and cut it out on that pencil line. Next, I'm going to come in with a 80 grit sandpaper on my orbital sander, and I'm going to really focus on rounding over these sharp edges and just fixing any mistakes that I might have had when I was cutting it out with a jigsaw. Like for this one, I cut out two of them, one a little bit taller than the other. This one, its nose was kind of funny, so I just sanded that area until I liked the way it looked. But the most important step is rounding over those sharp edges on the front of the bunny and the back of the bunny. But I did not sand this piece smooth. I really want some texture on this board, and I might have even sanded it a little bit too much, and that's why I came in and added some texture in a later step, which is right now. So I want this to have a layered paint finish. So I'm mixing up a gray color, just using some black and white paint. Added a couple scoops of salt wash to it to thicken it up a bit. And I'm going to do the technique that like similar like I did with the potting bench I did several weeks ago. I'm just going to kind of plop the paint on in some areas and use a scraper tool to smooth it out and create some texture. I'm not going for full coverage here. I want some of that wood peeking through when it's all said and done, and I want to do this to both of our bunnies, front and back. Once that textured paint is good and dry, I'm going to come in and seal up both bunnies front and back with two coats. Oh my goodness, I'm struggling. With two coats of paint on shellac. I was really worried this raw lumber would bleed, and I'm wanting to come in with a white paint next. So I wanted to just add the extra protection of sealing that raw wood up. we are going to be using flour sack over our bunnies, and I want to create a thick mixture here so I have some larger cracks and crazing, hopefully. So I did 6 scoops of powder with 4 scoops of water. Mix that together well and let it sit up and thicken for about 10 minutes. As that's thickening up, I'm going to take my beeswax bar again and just randomly go over both of our bunnies, but really focusing on the edges and the details. And then we're going to paint. I did 2 coats, front and back, on both of our bunnies, and in between coats, I did dry it with my heat gun. Personally, I don't have any problems when I use the beeswax bar and use my heat gun between coats, but I hear others say don't do that because it melts the wax. But it's probably melting the wax, but I still get the look I'm wanting, so I'm impatient. I'm going to use my heat gun. I loved the crackle and texture we got on this piece. I'm trying to zoom in right here so you can really see it, but we're about to bring all that goodness out in our next step. First, we're going to come in with a 120 grit sandpaper and distress these babies up. I'm really going to focus on those edges. Like I said, I want there to be a clear outline of our bunnies, but I'm going to go over the insides too and get off any excess wax, and it's going to reveal this gorgeous layered chippy look. Oh my goodness, I love it. Then we're going to seal it up with some Fusion Agent Wax. I'm going to work in sections here since I did not clear. This milk paint is going to absorb this wax right up, and I did not want it to be too dark. So I'm going to really put in some elbow grease to wipe off any excess wax and buff it in. I went back and forth about adding a ribbon to the bunny's necks. I decided to add a pink velvet ribbon. It's removable, so if the person doesn't want it up there, it can be taken off very easily. Y'all let me know what y'all think about these cute bunnies. Man, oh man, I don't know. I really love the bench, but man, I just really love these. What do y'all think about this project? I priced the larger one for $47 and the smaller one for $43. And that is all I have for you today, my friends. I really hope you enjoyed today's projects. They are some of my favorites. And again, I am very sorry about how my voice has sounded in this video. It sounds like I'm depressed, which I'm not. It's just that my voice is completely almost left me. Either way, if you found any inspiration in today's video, hit that like button. Definitely leave a comment below. And y'all, I forgot to mention, we hit 15,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for y'all's support. Also, if you're in need of some milk paint, head over to my website. I just stocked back up. And thank y'all. Thank y'all for hanging out with me today. I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.